You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Calling all new school counselors. If you're an intern, just graduated, or recently hired, this is for you. I have a brand new free training series for you called New School Counselor Bootcamp. And this 5-part training will be covering how to make the most of your internship, rocking the interview process, how to prepare your office, setting up for a successful and stress-free school year, and your first 30, 60, and 90-day to-do list. Summer is the perfect time to get started, so go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/bootcamp to sign up. Hey there, thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. So for the next 2 episodes, I'm doing something kind of fun. You may recall that last month I launched my free program for new school counselors or school counselor interns and recent grads called Stress-Free School Counseling Bootcamp. Now, this new counselor bootcamp is to help you feel totally prepared as you're going into your first year. But I do know that many of you listening to the podcast are veteran school counselors or have been in it a couple years, so the interning part and the job interviewing part may not apply to you in this season of your counseling life right now. But there are a couple parts of boot camp that I thought everyone would really benefit from hearing, especially this time of year as we're in the summer and you're, taking a break and you're kind of reflecting on last year's counseling program and how you're going to plan the year ahead. So in this episode, I'm going to talk to you about, I've got a school counseling job, now what? Basically, this is exactly what you need to do over the summer to help you feel prepared and ready to go in August. All right, let's dive in. I've got a school counseling job. Now what? Yay! You have landed your first school counseling job. You should be so proud of yourself. Now, you're probably daydreaming about counseling students in your beautiful office. But first, let's take a look at exactly what you're going to need during your first year. So before we dive in, a little about me. My first office, I actually shared with our school psychologist. I had all these plans and dreams for my office, so when I found out it was shared, initially I was super bummed and disappointed, but it later ended up being such a great thing, and her and I became super good friends and great colleagues. We collaborated on a lot of projects together. My favorite office I ever had was my most recent one at an international school in Costa Rica. You can see a picture of it there on the left. And then on the right, you can see a funny lamp that I did a DIY project with. I actually found it in an alley outside my house in San Diego. So later I'll talk to you about how you don't have to spend money to make your office awesome and how you can do DIY projects or even ask for funds. Our PTA bought me a buddy bench. I'll then talk to you about what curriculum you should be using, and I have used all kinds of things, but a lot of second step zones of regulation, and of course I've created my own curriculum. So you may have 3 questions going into your first year. First, well, what should my office look like? Second, what do I actually need to counsel students? And third, what do I need to buy? So first, try to find out what your actual office space will be. Will it be shared like mine? Will you have a window? I was so anxious to have a window and finally got one in that Costa Rica office. Are you in a repurposed custodial closet? These are all valid questions. Your office may not look like much, but you can make it a cozy, welcoming space for students with a few nice touches. So let's talk about some areas that you don't want to forget. First, a calm down corner. So a calm down corner is a safe space where kids can come to when they need help managing strong emotions. So this is where you can include some fidget toys or sensory boxes. Maybe you have nice pillows or seating, a cozy rug, some coping strategies toolboxes or feelings posters. Then you'll have a bulletin board space. So if you don't have a bulletin board to decorate, no worries. You can hang up a piece of butcher paper and then decorate that. That's what I always did. Or you may have some posters that you want to hang up, or a whiteboard space where you can write messages and keep track of activities. Then you have your desk. So you can organize it as you like. I personally like to keep a file cabinet by my desk so I can have a file folder with each student's info easily accessible. Then your small group space. So I love to lead small groups at a round table or a kidney-shaped table. This way all students feel equal, and it's a great way to facilitate conversations. So hopefully you'll have a table and a few chairs to conduct small groups at. And then finally, the talking space. So I love having couches. So this is more for those individual sessions or older students. Couches create more of a comfortable, almost therapist office vibe rather than a sterile classroom. And I also love having adult-sized seating options for parent meetings. Now, what about actually counseling students? What do I need? Well, you'll need curriculum and activities, books, videos, and games. So regarding curriculum and activities, you can use published curriculum like Second Step or Zones of Regulation, like I mentioned. You can buy curriculum online. So Teachers Pay Teachers and myself at Bright Futures Counseling have a lot of options for curriculum you can buy. Or you can create your own curriculum using lessons and activities. So maybe you've already started to do this in grad school, so looking into Pinterest and other online resources to piecemeal together your own curriculum. Now, books. Reading a book as part of a class lesson or with a small group is a great starting point to discussions. Now, books can get pricey, so start with a few essentials that you can use for multiple purposes. And then also check with your librarian to see which SEL books are already on campus. Maybe you could borrow from the library or from teachers. And for videos. Like books, I love to use a video to start discussions with students. And the best thing is, they're free typically. So go to YouTube and you can sort by category and find lots of great videos that you can use in your class lessons. And finally, games. So Jenga, a deck of playing cards, some dice, and puzzles are my go-to games. So you can customize the Jenga to use it as an icebreaker, use the playing cards and dice during discussion games, and I like to do puzzles with individual students as a way to build rapport. So you can always do homemade games too if you don't want to purchase these, such as charades, Simon Says, or other role play activities. And what do I actually need to buy? Well, don't stress, I have 4 don'ts of buying. So first, don't buy everything. It's exciting once you start thinking about all of the possibilities for your new office, but don't go overboard on spending. Number 2, don't reinvent the wheel. So meet with your principal and find out what materials are available to you. Try to reach out to the previous counselor as well to see which programs they successfully implemented. You'll have plenty of opportunities to create new activities, so take the existing curriculum where you can get it. 3, don't be afraid to ask for funds. See if there is a school counseling or character education budget. Sometimes the Parent-Teacher Association has additional funds for these programs. I worked at a school that had a Teachers Pay Teachers account so we could order from. And almost every school has some type of budget for office supplies. So even if you can't get any curriculum, you can try to get markers, pencils, clipboards, etc. to use with your students. So you'll never know unless you ask. And my final don't for you, don't underestimate the power of DIY. You saw my lamp from 2015 back there. Once you determine what you're starting off with, you can buy supplemental materials like books, small group curriculum, and digital activities. But my first year, almost everything I did was DIY. So don't compare yourself to other people's offices or Pinterest perfection. This is such an exciting time, but it can be easy to get caught up in the details. But remember, at the end of the day, change happens as a result of connecting with the kids. So now you know exactly what you need to start your year. You've got this.
I hope you found that part of boot camp helpful. If you are a recent graduate, a counseling intern, or a new school counselor and you want to hear all of the boot camp episodes and see all what boot camp has to offer, please head over to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/bootcamp and you can sign up for that free video training series. Okay, talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.